The Library of Alexandria has become more than a ruin of history. It has become a symbol, almost a legend, of what humanity once had and then carelessly destroyed. People imagine it as a place where all the wisdom of the ancient world was gathered together in one monumental building, only to be lost forever in a single blaze. That image has inspired centuries of books, films, and conspiracy theories. But the reality is both stranger and more complicated. The library was real. It was vast, and whatever was truly lost, there may have changed the course of human history forever. The story begins in the 3rd century BC in a city that was itself only a century old. After Alexander the Great carved his empire across the known world, Egypt fell under the rule of his general Ptolemy. His descendants, the Ptolemaic dynasty, ruled for almost 300 years. They wanted Alexandria to be more than just another port city on the Mediterranean. They wanted it to rival Athens as a center of knowledge and culture. To achieve that, they founded the Mausion, a great research institution that included gardens, lecture halls, observatories, living quarters for scholars, and most famously, the Great Library. From the beginning, the ambition was extreme: to gather every text ever written. Ships that docked in Alexandria were inspected for manuscripts. Any scrolls found on board were seized, copied by trained scribes and stored. Merchants and travelers from Greece, Mesopotamia, India, and possibly even further afield brought writings that were preserved on papyrus. The kings ordered agents to purchase texts from foreign markets, and in some cases, simply to confiscate them. Even works borrowed from Athens or other cities were quietly copied, and the originals kept while duplicates were returned. Over time, this relentless accumulation produced what was probably the largest collection of written knowledge in the world. Ancient accounts estimate the library held between 400,000 and 700,000 scrolls, though the true number is impossible to know. What kinds of knowledge were preserved there? At the very least, we can say it contained the full works of Greek authors like Homer, Sophocles, and Aeschylus. Today, only a handful of their plays survive, but ancient sources mention over 100. Where are they? They may have been sitting on the shelves of Alexandria. Beyond literature, the library surely contained histories of Egypt that stretched back thousands of years, records from Babylon about astronomy and mathematics, Indian treatises on medicine, and maps of lands beyond the Mediterranean. Imagine if every text from every culture known at the time was gathered into one building. For centuries, people have dreamed about the treasures that might have been inside. But the Library of Alexandria did not vanish in one neat blaze. Its destruction was not a single event, but a series of tragedies spread across centuries. In 48 BC, during Julius Caesar's war against Pompey, Caesar's forces set fire to ships in Alexandria's harbor. The flames spread into the city, and some accounts say part of the library was destroyed. Centuries later, in the 3rd century AD, the Emperor Aurelian fought to retake Alexandria from the rebel queen Zenobia. Fighting again destroyed parts of the city, including the Brucheian district where the library may have stood. Then, in the late 4th century, the Roman Emperor Theodosius ordered the closure of pagan temples. Scholars believe that the Serapeum, a daughter library of the main institution, was destroyed at this time. Finally, some later sources claim that in the 7th century, when the Muslim general Amr ibn al-As conquered Alexandria, any remaining texts were burned. Whether this last account is true is debated, but by then the library had already been reduced to fragments. So what was really lost? Here is where history blurs into mystery. Ancient writers suggest that the library preserved texts from civilizations far older than Greece. Imagine Egyptian records written long before the pyramids. Imagine Sumerian tablets copied onto papyrus and preserved. Imagine astronomical records from Babylon that stretch back thousands of years. Entire schools of mathematics, medicine, and engineering might have been documented. Some suggest that maps of the world existed that showed lands across the Atlantic, hinting at knowledge of the Americas long before Columbus. Others speculate that the library contained documents about advanced technologies, the secrets of pyramid construction, or records of civilizations wiped away by floods. Even if we ignore speculation, the scale of loss is staggering. We know from surviving lists that Aristotle wrote hundreds of works, but we only possess a fraction. The same is true of Herodotus, Euripides, and countless others. Imagine if we had the missing plays, the missing histories, the missing treatises on medicine and science. One famous claim is that the library contained works by the mathematician Archimedes that explored principles of physics centuries ahead of their time. If those texts had survived, our technological progress might have accelerated by hundreds of years. Some argue that humanity could have entered the industrial age 1,000 years earlier if the knowledge preserved at Alexandria had not been lost. But the truth may be even stranger. The library was not just a collection of texts, it was a statement of ambition. The idea that human knowledge could be gathered in one place, preserved and shared across generations. That idea is what was truly lost. The Roman Empire, for all its achievements, never built anything quite like it. After the fall of Rome, much of Europe entered a period where knowledge fragmented, preserved only in monasteries or scattered archives. The great works of Greece and Rome survived mostly because they were copied and translated into Arabic during the Islamic Golden Age. From there, centuries later, they re-entered Europe during the Renaissance. But what if the Library of Alexandria had survived intact? The Renaissance might have come centuries earlier. The Dark Ages might never have existed at all. There is also a caution here. We think of the loss as dramatic and sudden, but papyrus is fragile. Even without fire, many scrolls would have decayed over centuries. Without constant copying, much would have been lost naturally. The library's tragedy is not just about flames and conquest. It is about the fragility of knowledge itself. What we do not preserve, we lose. And once lost, it may be gone forever. Still, the mystery is what captivates us. The library is remembered not only for what it contained, but for what it might have contained. Did it hold the secrets of lost civilizations? Did it preserve forgotten histories that would rewrite our understanding of the world? Did it hold the earliest accounts of the flood myths, the origins of religion, or even knowledge of the stars that rivaled modern astronomy? We may never know. And perhaps that is why the story continues to fascinate. Today, the dream of Alexandria lives on in modern institutions like the Library of Congress, the British Library, or even in digital archives. In fact, in 2002, a new library was opened in Alexandria, Egypt, the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, as a symbolic rebirth of the ancient dream. It does not claim to recover what was lost, but it carries forward the vision, that knowledge is humanity's greatest treasure, and that it must be preserved against time, neglect, and destruction. The Library of Alexandria may have perished, but the myth of it endures, and myths have power. They remind us of what we once had, what we destroyed, and what we must guard against losing again. When we imagine its shelves lined with lost works of genius, we are really imagining our own potential, the heights humanity might have reached if we had not been so careless with our inheritance. So what was really lost? Perhaps the plays of Sophocles, perhaps the records of Egyptian dynasties, perhaps texts so ancient and so strange they would have rewritten history. We cannot say for certain, and maybe that is the true legacy of the Library of Alexandria, not the scrolls themselves, but the haunting sense that we once held the keys to mysteries we can no longer solve, and we let them burn. Comment, like, and subscribe for more journeys into the mysteries of our ancient past.